Today we're going to be talking about the pathways to possibility. In this session, we're going to equip you with strategies and tools that you will be able to use either when you are having that transition IEP meeting or when you start searching for post-secondary programs for your loved ones. The other thing I will mention is that some of the strategies that we'll talk about are strategies that you can also implement on your daily routine. I am Jacqueline Marquez Dupre. I am one of the program assistant directors for the center. And here is Dr. Andrews. He is the director of the center. You want to?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Drew Andrews, and I'm the director of the Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities. And we're going to be talking about the center and our work and about opportunities at post-secondary for students with intellectual disabilities.
And if you just give me one moment, because here I am talking, but I'm not showing you the presentation. Okay. And here joining us is another program director, Cheryl. Came in just in time. So the Florida Center for Students with Unique Ability, we serve as the coordinating center that supports 39 programs throughout the state of Florida. Some of the work that we do, we provide technical assistance support to these programs, but mainly we help start these programs. Sorry, I forgot. We help start the programs. We provide them with funding and technical assistance supports.
So we are celebrating 10 years of Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Programs because in 2016, the Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Program Act was passed here in Florida. And that act did several different things, as you see here. It established the Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities at the University of Central Florida as a state coordinating center. That's where Jackie, Cheryl, and I work. And we work with universities, state colleges, and technical colleges throughout Florida to develop additional programs. Additionally, the legislation created a framework for Florida post-secondary comprehensive transition programs that very closely aligned with the 2008 federal legislation that was the Higher Education Opportunity Act. And then there are two parts to the legislation that provided funding. And one of those was for the funding of the development of programs. So once there is an approved Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Program, they may apply for a grant for development and sustainability at that institution. And then the fourth part of the legislation is student scholarships. So students who are attending Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Programs can also receive a student scholarship to help support their tuition. If they're living on campus, it can support that. Books, just like any other scholarship, would support students. So what is the purpose of Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Programs? And all of the information that we share is pulled directly from the legislation. But the Act is designed to expand opportunity for students with intellectual disabilities by promoting independent living, comprehensive post-secondary education, and meaningful employment. If students access, it gives them access to degree and non-degree programs and certificate and non-degree programs that provide experiential learning and skill development. So these aren't typical college programs where a student leaves with a degree, but they leave with a meaningful credential that leads to employment. So our programs are for students that want to be employed, and a meaningful credential will support them advancing in that program. So this is a list of the 39 programs, and we just heard this morning that we have a 40th program that we're ready to send to the Department of Education for approval. So if you look there, you see that there are 8 universities, there are 9 state colleges, and there are 20 of the technical colleges. So in Florida, Technical colleges may be what you remember. They were called VOTEX years ago, and our state colleges were called community colleges years ago. And actually, the one that's going to be added is going to be another university program. So there will be 9 university programs. So yes, there is a program at UCF, and they are one of our programs. But we have programs all the way out into the Panhandle and all the way down to the Keys. So we also work with Think College, which is the national coordinating center for comprehensive transition and post-secondary programs. That center is located at UMass Boston, and they have a promotion going on that is Think Higher, Think College, because there haven't been that many years that students with intellectual disabilities had the opportunity to go to post-secondary education. There are still lots of families that are unaware. There are lots of students with intellectual disabilities that are unaware and don't realize that there are opportunities for them to be able to go to post-secondary education. So I'm going to click here, and hopefully this is going to work.
For students with intellectual disabilities, that they are expected to just age out from high school and be ready for the society.
What happens when they age out? There's not a ton out there for them.
So the first time I heard about this option for our students with intellectual disabilities to go to college, it was like a dream come true.
If you want a career path, you gotta go to college.
Over 300 U.S. colleges and universities offer programs for students with intellectual disability.
It's important for me to go to college because it prepares me for the workforce.
Learn new things and how to live on my own.
They should have this chance, but we'll never know unless we give them that opportunity.
You can start conversation as early as elementary school that there's an option to go to college.
When we are starting to talk about college, every child in our building should be in those conversations.
If there's one thing I could send out to every educator on the planet, it's simple. When it comes to our students, think higher, think college.
College is possible for students with intellectual disability. Take the first step at thinkhighered.net, a project of Think College.
And so again, many people around the nation, there are programs being developed everywhere. But Florida has taken a special interest, and our legislature passed this legislation 10 years ago and continues to support students with intellectual disabilities moving to post-secondary education. So when you're thinking about a Florida post-secondary comprehensive transition program, there are certain things that are requirements. One is that students must leave with a meaningful credential or industry certification. Just like anyone that goes to college, the hope is that you leave with some type of certificate, degree, and you're prepared for employment. The same thing with our program. They focus on employment outcomes. It's the full college experience. It's no less than half-time. Most of our students are full-time, just like other students. There must be satisfactory academic progress, which means that students must have an interest and be moving forward, just like any other college student. And it requires that programs also complete the federal Comprehensive Transition and Post-Secondary Program application. And if you look that up, the information will let you know that students with intellectual disabilities also have access to student financial aid. And so they are eligible for student financial aid once that program becomes a federal CTP program. So that's additional dollars on top of the dollars that Florida provides, because college can be expensive. We have 2 programs that are at private not-for-profit universities, Southeastern University and St. Thomas University. And those programs are a bit more expensive, and as we know, many just university programs in general. Most of our programs are 2-year programs, some are 3-year programs, but if a student's living on campus, that increases the expense as well. So when we talk about the credentials, these are just some examples of what students earn at Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Programs. So there are some industry certifications like Automotive Collision Technology Technician, Digital Design, Nail Specialty, Professional Culinary Arts. There are also some local certifications that students earn, like the Florida Ready to Work, or a Horticulture and Agriculture certification, Office Support Specialist. And then on to the micro-credentials and badges, which have really exploded here in the last few years in all of post-secondary education, where folks are increasing they're building their resume by adding micro-credentials and badges to their professional portfolio. And those are like corporate communications, professional services, professional readiness, and basics of nutrition, and it goes on and on. This is just a very few. We're going to talk a little bit later about all of the different credentials that are offered at Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Programs. So students that attend these programs are students with intellectual disabilities. And this is the federal definition of intellectual disability. Prior to 2008, students with intellectual disabilities did not have access to post-secondary education because they could not meet the requirements entrance exams. Well, there are certain requirements for our programs, but students don't have to take the SAT and other exams like this. The programs are specifically designed for students who have intellectual disability and are at that level of development. And so the students have access to many of the credentials that are offered at universities and colleges. So also the student must provide some type of documentation about their disability, just as any student with a disability would whenever they go to college. You have to self-disclose and share that information. And then students must also physically attend. So we don't have any programs that are online programs. These programs are meant to be on college campuses to give students that access, that experience of being on a college campus. So here are those student scholarships that I was mentioning. And the student scholarships are typically between $7,000 to $15,000 based on the need of the student. They don't exceed $15,000. But for students who may be at a technical college, their scholarship may not even be $7,000 because it's not what that student needs. But we cover all of their tuition, books, any other expenses that are listed in that. It's available for students who are attending the Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Program. It covers the costs that are charged to the student's account, just like other scholarships do for other students. And it can also cover transportation, maybe industry certification. Those come with an expense, maybe technology and equipment that the student may need while at college. The grants that we provide to yes?
Are those need-based scholarships?
The scholarships are based on a scholarship estimator that are provided by the programs. So it's not need-based. It's based on what that program that student will attend, what the needs are for them, and what the expense will be, up to $15,000. Yes, ma'am.
So, what credentials do they need to go for this program? Like, do they have to go to the high school and then, like, throughout the high school?
Okay.
And then?
Just to repeat those questions so you all have heard them. The first question was, is this a need-based scholarship? And it is not a needs-based scholarship. It is a scholarship based on how much that program cost and the estimator that the program gives us. The next question was from asking what is required for a student to be able to attend a program. The requirements vary from program to program, but students do not have to always have graduated with a standard high school diploma, because we know in Florida that previously there were special diplomas. Some students left with a certificate of completion, or they may have just exited without something. And so what the programs look at whenever someone is applying and wanting to attend a program, they look at that student's fit to the program. Does the student's goals align with the certificates and credentials that are available there? And then also, is the student able to be on a college campus and be able to navigate? Now, many of our programs have peer tutors who are there, who support students, but each of the programs have different requirements. So we're going to share on a little bit a link to all 40 of our programs. And the best way to find that information is either to visit their website or to reach out to the coordinator, and all of that is available on our website, all of that contact information, or you can directly reach out to us and we will give you that information of those, who those people are.
So on campus means they will be living there?
The question is, does on campus mean they will be living there? Not always. There are programs that have a residential component. UCF has a residential, USF, University. Broward College does not. College of the Florida Keys does. And so FAU, they have something, or maybe I think students live in a nearby apartment, but with 40 programs, it's hard for me to keep every detail, but the majority of our programs do not have, they do not have students in the dorms, but we encourage that, and that number continues to build as we look at that. And I have another question here.
So my question is, if the student have a Florida prepaid, so when my son was born, I opened a Florida prepaid, but I didn't know he was going to be having an issue. But if the money that I have is not enough for him to go to the program, can we combine this program with Florida prepaid to make like a bulk of money? So he has Florida prepaid, but if I need him to participate on this program, can he combine both of them together?
If the question is about Florida prepaid and the parent has paid into Florida prepaid. So if a student attends an approved Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Program, one of these 40 programs that we shared, they are eligible for our scholarship. Now you can also have the Florida prepaid dollars and be using that as well, based on, but that student is going to receive that scholarship. It's not a need-based, so there are additional dollars that can help with that. But yes, you can. And I have another question. Yes?
Is the scholarship for a year or for the entirety of the program?
Oh, thank you. The question is the scholarship for a year or for the entirety of the program? The scholarships are annual, but the scholarships are, a student receives a scholarship every year that they are in the program, as long as they are making satisfactory academic progress and still enrolled in the program. Any other questions for you?
So you said up to $15,000, that would be per year, or that's like for the full time?
The question is about the $15,000. $15,000 is a maximum annual scholarship. So for a student that's in for 2 years, they would receive that both years.
And are we talking, is it covering the full cost of the program?
In most cases, in most cases, if the student is also living in the dorm and they're at a private university, it's not going to cover the entire cost. No, it's not. But in many cases, it does cover the entire cost. College cost and the price of college has increased, but it's a wonderful scholarship. And I tell folks it makes me very proud to be a Floridian, because our legislature really has put the money here and the funds here to be able to support students with intellectual disabilities. Yes, another question.
One last thing. Is there an age limit? Because you know how some students
Okay.
start their diploma and then they go into
The,
transition.
the question is about an age limit. No, these are great questions. You're asking wonderful questions. That's wonderful. There is some programs, the legislation talks about a transitional age 18 to 26, but not limited to. That is in the legislation. And so some of our programs have started with having an age of 18 to 26. But what they've had, students show up who are 30 or 35 who have never had the opportunity to go to college. And so what we do then is just make an adjustment to their program. And some programs start without an age limit, because we've had several adults who may have been in their 30s and 40s who have come back and have completed these programs, which is really exciting for them to have that opportunity.
And we may have a program that might limit the age, just because the students are living in the dorms. And so, like, I know UCF's program, they limit the age to 28. upon entry, just because they expect all the students to live in the dorms. And so there is an age limit there. But for most of our programs, there is not an age limit, but you have to think about who's living in the dorms and things like that.
Even that covers the scholarship, even if they go beyond the age, like even then?
Again, the question was, is the scholarship still covered even if they go beyond the age? Yes. So whoever is an eligible student, whoever's enrolled in that program, continuing to make satisfactory academic progress will earn the scholarship. What the programs do is they come up with the cost estimator, and they let us know these are the costs associated with this program, and then we approve it. Okay, and then they say, okay, here are our students who are coming into the program, and then we award the scholarship that way. So it goes through the financial aid office.
So what did I hear about up till age 22? What was that?
That is IDEA, Individuals with Disability Dedication Act. So that is the K-12 system. So the K-12 system goes up until the age of 22, or they earn a standard high school diploma.
Okay, that is up till 12.
And then we're after that.
Oh,
So our students are done, then they come here.
Thank you. I have two questions. So the first one, will this program, are you looking at the parents' income to qualify the student? No.
Now, the question was, do we look at the parent income for the students? No. Again, the scholarship is strictly for the students who are eligible.
Oh.
There is not a competitive scholarship. You can come back.
Can you only do this one time?
Say that again?
Can you only do it one time?
Yes, that's a very good question. The question was, can we only do this one time? Because there is a scholarship attached to the program, and the expectation is once the students complete the program, they're employed. We want, just like any other student, we don't want them to just be a perpetual student. We end the program, we get employment, we move on. Some students might say, you know what, I really want to go back and I want to get that extra credential. And that's okay, they can do that, but they won't get a scholarship. So they would pay their own.
How far they can, let's say they can do it for 2 years based on the program they choose. If the program is a 4-year program, you will continue for the 4 years. Okay.
Yeah. The question was if it's a 4-year program, yes, how long they're in the program, they will get that scholarship. Did you have a question?
So if the child, if they want to take extra classes, that just have to be paid out of pocket?
Well, that would be in the cost estimator. And then again, each program is individualized for the students. And so they would be saying, hey, this is going to be Johnny's costs associated with the program, and this are Susie's program costs associated with the program.
So let's say 1 year into the program, they realize it's not for them, they want to switch. You know how kids go to college, they switching degrees, majors. How does that?
Then that's a good question, because that's a question we have from some of our programs. The question was, what happens if they're in the program for a year and realize, I really don't like this. I want to try this out, and that's okay. They just let us know, and we know that, so we make the adjustment because we collect data on our students. We want to see the positive outcomes, and so that happens. That happens with everyone. Happened with me. That's a very normal thing to happen, and so we do make sure we're monitoring that. Yeah, but again, we tailor the programs for the students. So they're adjusting as they're moving on. It's not that common for a student to make a complete shift, but it does happen. That's when the programs call us. I'm not sure.
I just wanted to ask also about being able to combine FESUA scholarship funds.
Okay, that's a good question. She had asked if they are able to, the FESUA, which is the Family Empowerment Scholarship for Students with Unique Abilities Scholarship. No, because that's a K-12 program. That is a school choice program, K-12. We are post-secondary. It's completely separate. So our students are enrolled after they graduate high school, so they would no longer be eligible. Now, they could probably use some of the money that was converted into a 529 for college, just like any other college program. But the actual FESUA, once they are completed with high school, they're done with that school scholarship. That's a good question.
So my question just come back. So right now my son is in the general ed. So but he's doing very good, but they have to have someone like an aide with him. Would this program cover if he decided to take a course? Will this program help cover with someone like you were talking about a tutor?
Like a dual enrollment?
No. So right now he's in gen ed, but he has an aide.
Para, I think she's saying, what if he needs a para?
What?
Would it support a personal aid?
Oh, so some of our programs, it really depends on the program. So the question was, can they bring in like a personal care attendant, right? And
No. In high school, he's in the general.
oh, he has a para support. Okay, not a personal care attendant. So sorry. Okay, thank you. I'm glad I clarified. So the question was, in high school, they have a paraprofessional in the classroom. We do have some programs that do have extra supports. Again, they look at the needs of their students and they staff, and that's why we provide extra funding and grant funding for the programs, because we understand that it does take a little bit more resources to provide supports. And so some programs do have paraprofessional. They may not call it that. There might be a teacher aide in the classroom, but they do provide that level of support. And we also have peer mentors. So again, it's a little bit different having an adult help you. Once you're in the adult world, you're an adult. And so we kind of look at more natural supports, which would be the peer mentors. Some programs have academic mentors, they might have social mentors, and then they may have residential mentors. So our programs that have on-campus housing, you'll see a residential mentor.
So do that take away from the between 7,000 to 15,000 to pay that person?
It depends. Sometimes that's included in the cost estimator, and sometimes it's included in the grant that the program has. Yeah, because they do pay the peer mentors. If they're students, they're college students doing work study, and that could be like a work study that the college
Cheryl,
students.
just over here, Cheryl. Just to kind of clarify, the programs are not going to pay for one-to-one para or an assistant to work with the student. It's just a peer mentor that will be there to provide those supports. Yeah, because we've been asked that question before.
And I don't know if you're going to get to this because we stopped your presentation. We asked much questions.
That's okay.
That's okay. This is for you guys.
It's going to be addressed. But I've heard of some programs that, and I don't know if we have them in Florida, but I've heard of them in other states where they, the housing, because parents get concerned, with living on campus alone. But I've heard of there's programs where they have students that maybe are specializing in special education or specializing in some things that cross over with the disabilities, maybe occupational therapy, and then they're the ones that would be living on the floors of the dorms with the students. So it's kind of structured in a special way that's supportive. Does Florida have anything like that?
So that is a question that you can ask the program. Like let's say if you're interested in going to UCF, then you can ask Dr. Jamie Best, who's the coordinator of the program, if that is something that they facilitate. Again, as Dr. Andrews mentioned earlier, we have 39 programs. It's really hard to know those little details. I do know that the universities that offer housing, they do a really good job at selecting who is going to be living right in the campus with the students. So they're very cognizant of that.
When do you start your process? Like my student is going to 11 week. When do I start application?
So you start that process upon graduation. Your student must have exited the K-12 system, and it must be 18 years or older in order to start. But for you as a parent, and that's a great question because I was talking about transition, start having that conversation with a transition meeting. Have that conversation with the IEP team. What is that going to look like? Start exploring the programs. Start looking at what are your son's interests, son or daughter's interests. And I'm going to pass out these cards, and in these cards, in this QR code, you're going to see the list of all the programs that we offer with the contact information. So like let's say if your son or daughter is interested in auto mechanics, have a conversation with that person, and then they will let you know what are those requirements, so what are you going to need. Then when you're having a conversation with the IEP team, you can say, hey, I went to McFadder and they offer this great program. Johnny's really interested in auto mechanics. How can we make this possible? What can we do in that IEP meeting that we can start setting up some really good goals for him to be successful when he goes post-secondary? No, you start right now. Okay. No, you start now. This is my philosophy with transition. Transition starts the moment you enter school, right? You start having those conversations. Because if you know what your son or daughter can do, then you're going to advocate a lot stronger for your child, right? So these are some of the completers. These are just 18 programs that we're highlighting. As we mentioned earlier, right now we have 40 programs as of this morning. Right? So you can see, yes, this is very exciting. I can tell you, I am a parent of an adult on the spectrum, and I can also say my son is going to start going to one of the programs, so I'm really excited about that for him, because before that, he didn't have that opportunity, and he's 30 years of age. So when we started our journey, my vision was post-secondary for him, but we didn't have that opportunity until 10 years ago. So you see, so everyone in this room is moving the needle a little bit for the next generation, right? So anyway, so here it is. I know that when we go to the completer ceremony, it becomes very emotional for us, right? It's like we got to hold back the tears because we see it's not only a paper with the student's name. We try to get to know the students that go there. We try to get to know all the coordinators. And we do that for a reason. This is very personal to every team member in our office. This is very personal for us. In fact, we have all been educators.
So I have a son who's going off to college this year. My daughter has special needs. She's younger. But you know how when you are visiting colleges and you have tours and they have events where you can see, do these programs have this kind of thing where we can have access and go, do they have special events for people to come tour before they've graduated, before it's time?
Yes, so when you go to the, say to the website, and you're gonna see the locations and you get the contact person, reach out, hey, when are you having that orientation day? I know UCF has them at least once a month. So, yes, they do. And they really do a great job there. Okay, so while our focus is primarily post-secondary, it's equally important for us to kind of talk about those transition activities. What can we do right now to prepare our son or daughter to go into post-secondary? Now, by a show of hands, how many of you are parents of a young adult that's in between the K to 12? Elementary school? Okay. Middle school, high school. Okay, majority. Okay, great. Let's start having that conversation right now, right? Let's start talking about what are kind of the things that our loved one needs to start preparing when they go into post-secondary. This is one of the things, right? So in school, we have great teachers that will lead them by the hand. I will have those conversations with you. They're very loving, right? Very caring. When they go to post-secondary, they're very caring as well, but you are an adult. That means that you have to learn how to self-advocate, because mom is not gonna be there to go and speak to your professor about the misassignment that you have. Or if they're living on campus, mom is not gonna be there to do the laundry. Mom is not going to be there to remind you about all those meetings or when you have to be in class. So let's start thinking about some of these activities that they need to start learning before they leave home. And again, we're going to go over some quick goals. Oops, if I can change the page. That you can start including in the IEP meeting, right? And this is not only based on IEP meeting. These are things that we can start doing with our loved ones at home. So understanding consequences. I come from a Hispanic background, and sometimes when a person with disabilities does something, all they say is, ay bendito, you got, he's like a baby. No, right? These are young men and women that eventually are going to become adults. So they need to start learning about consequences. They need to start learning if mom said, go and pick up your laundry and wash it, it's for a reason, right? We're training them. So some of that stuff can be included in an IEP meeting, or some of that stuff we can start doing at home. Organizational skills, right? Sometimes we go into their room and we pick up the mess in the room. No, because you're not going to be there if they're living on campus. They have to start doing that themselves. And again, this is stuff that you can start incorporating into a transitional IEP meeting or any IEP. Again, when I started this journey, when I found out my son was on the spectrum, my transition journey started during that first IEP meeting. And I didn't know everything, but I talked, I came to presentations such as this one, and I learned, right? I got together with a group of people, and again, we are here today because everyone started moving that needle. Self-advocacy, again, very important one. We need to start talking about the use of assistive technology. I mean, some of them knows how to use technology better than us. And that digital literacy. One of the things that I think is very important to start teaching, and we can also start implementing in the IEP meetings, the right use and the consequences of social media, right? Sometimes we don't think about that. But sometimes, we need to start talking about, like, let's say when they start liking a girl or a boy and they start stalking them. That is not a behavior that is going to be acceptable, right? So start having those conversations of what is the right use of digital media, right? So what we can and we cannot do. And again, we don't have to wait for school IEP to implement that. That is something that we can start implementing at home. Take the next slide.
And one thing, just a personal note, is self-advocacy is so important. I have a hearing impairment. I never thought to tell my teachers I had a hearing impairment. My mom did in high school. And I went to a small high school, so my mom went and talked to all the teachers. Then I went to college with the bigger classrooms. I didn't know I had to tell my teachers. I didn't know it was important to sit up front. I would sit in the back. So it took me a little bit longer to get my 4-year degree, but I learned. So I'm always telling people now, the self-advocacy is so important. And just knowing what your needs are, being able to speak up for yourself, is really important. So we talk about social skills. Again, the independence on campus is so important, and being able to interact socially and learning those skills. So having the conversation skills, the relationships, and knowing boundaries, that's so important when you are at the post-secondary level. And the self-determination and post-secondary mindset. We come to the program, it's a short program, and it's a focused program, so we want to make sure the students know what they want, get the access to the supports they need, and they have the employment goals that they have, and they have good employment upon completion. So it's just, again, the self-advocacy, knowing what your disability is, and knowing what supports you need will help. Jackie sent out the She sent out this handout, and this handout kind of helps students understand what they need to do, like kind of their journey to post-secondary. It's really important that students, regardless of disability, they don't have to have an intellectual disability for this. This is for any student with a disability. Is go ahead and reach out to the accessibility office on their campus, introduce yourself. They can say, these are the services that were on my IEP. This is what made me successful. And then they can have that conversation with the students. It won't be the same services because it's not IEP services. We'll have a 504 type of services. Then on the back of this flyer, kind of talks about the differences between IDEA, which is Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, services that you get when you are in high school. And then here are the services that are available at the post-secondary level, and you can kind of see the differences. and then you can scan another QR code to scan. You can scan this QR code, and it talks about exploring options and what those steps are. I think this is important because this is relatively new, and even knowing all the different things that you have to do to prepare. So again, it's the college awareness, knowing what your goals are, being able to be more strategic, and where you're deciding to go. We have a toolkit on our website. It's called the Family to Family Toolkit, and it is for families. So it helps with 5 main sections. We have videos, we have checklists, we have a Zipstone links, and it's a resource that's available on our website, fcsua.org, and it's designed just for families. Do you want to talk more about that?
One important part about the Family to Family Toolkit, it doesn't matter where you are in your journey, you can start using that toolkit. Especially if you are in elementary school, start looking at it, how to have those conversations, because sometimes we don't know how to have these conversations with our loved ones. Sometimes conversation between mom and dad may be a little different. Here we have some valuable resources on how to do that. Some checklists when you start going to the university programs or colleges to see, what it is that I'm going to look for. Am I going to look for like housing that you had mentioned, that question about housing, maybe talk about transportation, but what about those dietary needs, right? So here in this Family to Family Toolkit is a really good guide, very comprehensive guide that's going to take you step by step throughout the journey. It doesn't matter where you are, from elementary all the way to post-secondary.
Okay, so you have the different certifications, you have the list of things. I don't know what those mean, and I don't know what type of job that is helping you to get. So do you have something on your website that kind of explains, okay, this type of certification, here are some examples of jobs that will want to hire you if you have this certificate?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. We have 2 great scholars in our office that have been doing very intensive research on that. And as a matter of fact, tomorrow at 10:30, they're having a presentation. And let me tell you the room, they're going to be talking specifically about that, about the career clusters. Thank you. Yeah, oh, I have it here too. I took a picture of it because I wanted to remember it and share the information. But it's so great. Okay, tomorrow, Celebration 12. So they'll be there tomorrow from 10:30 on, if you want to hear about career clusters, they will be the people, yeah.
What's it called?
Career cluster. So her presentation is a career compass pointing you towards your future.
Celebration 10.
Celebration 12. It's right across. Yeah. So they'll be there tomorrow, and yes, at 10:30. And Dr. Scott will be able to answer any questions that you have with regards to career clusters or what type of jobs to go into.
So is that also something on your website too?
So that is going to thank you. Not at this time, but we're working on it. So why does all of this matter? It's matter because our role as a parent is to prepare our loved ones. Prepare them to become adults, prepare them to go into post-secondary, prepare them to learn how to self-advocate for themselves. One of the things that I wanted to mention, and it's something that can be incorporated also into the IEP transitional goals, personal hygiene. It's a topic that a lot of times we don't talk about, but it's very important because in college, one of the things we hear a lot is, I don't have no friends, right? And then I hear, Mom, I was an ASD specialist, autism spectrum disorder, especially with CARD, and I dealt with that a lot. And many parents were like, he doesn't like to shower. What can I do about that? Let's start addressing that now. Because when they get to college, you don't want them to be outcasted, right? And it's not going to be the coordinator. It's going to be a wonderful person, but it's not going to be her job to tell them, hey, you need to go and wash up. So we start doing that now, right? And again, you can use any of those resources. The CARD Center, for anyone who has a loved one on the spectrum, they are delightful with the amount of information that they have, and they really love helping out with that. And also the Down Syndrome Association. I just wanted to mention that because I think it's very important. And also the part, again, about relationships. Let's start talking about that, start talking about boundaries. right? So that's very important. I know families, and I don't want to get off topic, but I need to address this, that their loved ones love to walk around in their underwears. If they're going to dorm, that's not going to be an allowable behavior. So again, if we start thinking transition, that they're going to be exiting, leaving home to go on campus to live, let's start having that conversation. Hey, buddy, you cannot do that, right? So, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's good.
Okay, so we mentioned earlier we have that credentials dashboard, and this is kind of just how to explore it. You can access it by that little card, this card here, and scan it, and you'll be able to see, find in that PCTP, which is the Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Program, and you'll see the credentials dashboard, and you can kind of, it will take you to this site, and then you can click here, and you'll be able to, just kind of do a search if you wanted to. You just looked at all of the credentials that we have. It can be overwhelming because we have soon to be 40 programs. There'll be a lot on there, but you can narrow it down by just picking specific programs or picking a specific topic of area of interest you want. The next slide is the QR. Again, find one in your area.
That's that.
Yeah,
That
it's
is
this
the QR code.
It's this card. And
Again, about going back to that toolkit, how to use it, doing family conversations, maybe having doing the IEP transition meeting, having conversations with counselors. Sometimes counselors are unaware that these programs exist, right? So if you're going to say, where Johnny wants to go and he wants to be an auto mechanic or an auto technician, they're gonna look at you, and if they know, they're gonna be, great, I have this great resource, here it is, let's explore it. And if they don't know, but you know, you can pull this card out and you say, hey, by the way, let's kind of explore this, right? There's so many programs that he can benefit from. And also in having that conversation with your loved ones, what do you wanna do, right? There's more opportunities out there than just working at Publix, unless, right, if they want to go into culinary arts or they learn how to become a baker. It's a difference, like Dr. Andrews always says, working at Publix as a bagger versus working at Publix as a baker, right? The income potential is going to be a lot different. And this is the goal of this program. We want our loved ones to graduate or to complete a program with a skill set that is going to lead them to employment and to live independently. So that's the goal of this, of all the work that we do. But I don't want you to hear it from us. I want you to hear from the students that actually participate in the programs.
Hi, my name is Taylor Jones. I go to Ava State College.
Hi, my name is Claude Christian Russo, and I attend Sheridan Tech in the computer and IT program.
Hi, my name is Bianca. I go to college at Poyet State.
Hi, I'm Steph. I am a student here at Southeastern University as part of the LINK program.
My name is Albert. I'm going to college Santa Fe.
My name is Arvin. I go to English College.
Hi, my name is Lucas. I am in Sheridan Tech, and I'm currently in the computer IT program.
Hi, my name is Jonathan. I go to college at Massey campus at Indian River State College.
My name is Lucas Rios. I go to college at FIU.
Hi, I'm Allie, and I go to college at Southeastern University for the LINK program.
Hi, I'm Ben Doe, and I'm a college student at FIU Embrace.
My name is Siobhan. I go to Sheridan Technical College for the automotive technician.
Hi, my name is John Goodwin. I go to Indian River State College, and I'm the first one in my family to go to college. If I could do it, you can do it.
That is oh wow, I am surprised. I have like tears in my eyes. The first time I saw that video, was choking because it's so emotional. This is coming from them, not from us. And that's a true testament. This is just a list of some of the resources that we have already discussed. The next steps, again, that QR will take you to the Family to Family Toolkit. If you want to take a moment and scan the QR. You will also have access to our contact information. And this is a,
I don't think everyone was.
oh. That's the New Yorker in me. I'm going really fast.
If we're trying to think of, can our child like handle this, whatever is going to be involved in it, in what they're studying or how they're learning, how can we access, I mean, I'm sure we need to contact the programs individually, but do they generally give you information, like what is their curriculum look like? I mean, I'm just familiar with regular college, because I told you I have a son that's a senior. You can go on their website and they show you the classes and they show you the curriculum, and you can kind of see what it looks like. What's the path to this major? What is it for these programs? Do we have that kind of access to understand what are they actually going to be studying to get this certificate? How does it play out? Is that available to us?
So I would strongly encourage you to speak with the program coordinator, like just for instance, explore like UCF or explore UNF, and then take a technical college and have a conversation with the coordinator, and they will be able to walk you through that path. I don't want to give you the incorrect information because we have 39 different programs. And we do have one. In fact, who was I looking at? Yes, I think it was Lively College. If you go into their website, it's going to give you that walkthrough. You're going to see what that's going to look like. This is a great resource. Please scan this. This is a Padlet. You're going to have information there from our programs. There's going to be some videos. There's also going to be information from Think College. This is information that you can share with the counselors, with the teachers, with your IEP team. It's a really valuable resource. Done? Okay. Again, this is just some additional information. Some of you already have like the Florida prepaid. Able account is another resource available to you. Voc Rehab. Some of our students can also get some supports from vocational rehabilitation, and that's a conversation that you will have with vocational rehabilitation.
Are you involved on this? The last thing are you involved? I registered my son to it, but it's the program, like when I was expecting for someone to call him and then set up something for him, but
vocational rehab?
Yeah.
Big smile. Vocational rehabilitation, patience. You need a lot of patience. I would say contact them. If you have an email, just send them an email and say, hey, I'm still waiting. My understanding is that they may be short a few counselors, so the process may be taking a little longer than usual. But this is what I'm going to leave you with. Be the squeaky wheel. Again, we are here today because advocates and parents before us moved the needle.
2 years.
Yeah, it takes, listen, I know, I am a parent, I've navigated vocational rehabilitation, and I've gotten to the point that I'm like, whoops, okay, I don't need it. If I don't need the supports, then I'm just gonna go with the supports is gonna be provided.
And they keep changing the
changing people. Every time you call, every time you go, it's
and
a
then they're
different
just taking information, you keep giving information, nothing moves further.
Yeah, we can have a side conversation about that. But I would say just don't give up. If you have a dream for your loved ones, don't let anybody stop you from that dream. Okay? Again, we're here today because group of parents, and thank to legislators who supported that idea. This is our contact information. I really want to thank you for taking time from your schedules to come and get this information. Share the information with other administrators, teachers, educators. We'll be more than happy to speak with anyone who wants to find out about what we do. And if you know of anyone that works at Valencia, West Seminole College, because we would love to see FPTC programs in those two places as well. Again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Do you have any question for us?
Do you have a program in St. Lucie County?
St. Lucie?
St. Lucie County.
The closest one in St. Lucie County would be Indian River State College or down south in FAU. Okay. Indian River, like Okeechobee, they kind of partner with their.
Yeah. And that's a really good program. They have a lot of different potentials there.
And that's why we have the map on our website so that you can really look at the whole state. We have a couple in the Panhandle. We continue to try to increase. But new programs that we have in development, in Daytona, at Bethune-Cookman, we're working with the University of Florida in Gainesville towards a new program. Also, Charlotte Technical College has recently been approved as a new program. So continue to look at our website because we're continuing to grow. And so new programs are being added. And it's just that there are still areas where there's not a program that's close to where some folks live. Yes?
I just want to about another question. Can a student be working and be in this program?
Yeah, we encourage, the question is, can students be working and in this program? Yes. Now, they'll have courses that they'll need to attend and be at those, but we encourage work in all of these programs because paid work experience during high school and college is one of the strongest predictors to paid employment after a student completes a program. And so we have many job coaches. Most students do they may do some type of non-paid work experience to start with, but we certainly encourage all of our programs, and most of our programs have a paid work experience that students have during the program. Because once you receive pay, I think many of us know that makes a difference. It makes a difference when you're being paid for the efforts that you're putting in. Other questions?
So after the program, do they help students look for a job?
Oh, very good. So the question is, after the program, do they help students find jobs? We really help students look for jobs while they are towards the end of the program. And then many of our programs have alumni associations, and some of them are, looking at how do we support students after they exit. But truly the goal is of these programs for students to be employed, and so looking at how students search for employment while they're in the program and have many of those things in place.
Yeah, and we have the requirement for our students, our program, to track students for 5 years. So we're going to be asking, where's your student working? How much are they getting employed? How many hours a week? Because we want to see that. We want to see the outcome of what we're doing.
That's what I was going to ask. Like how much percentage it is like that the students actually get a job?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're pretty successful.
Yeah, I don't know the exact percentage, but we have and we do have an annual report on our website under About Us. You can go and look at that annual report, and it gives information on those students that we've been following for 5 years, but many of our students do. We have students that are working in doctor's offices. We actually have a slide that we oftentimes use that show all of the different places where students are working. Yes.
Post-secondary, and it really didn't have much to give me. And like you say, a lot of them are not aware.
Right.
Do you guys go out?
We do. And so that's why go ahead and reach out to us. Find us on the website, send us an email, and then, I'm happy to share the information, because this is really important information, and I would hate to hear that someone's not accessing it.
If there are conferences where parents are, we try to be there. We have a table in the vending area as well, sharing information. We have a very strong presence on social media, Facebook, X, and Instagram. our website, and we also are on YouTube with a lot of the webinars that we have done. Some of them are for families, some of them are for professionals that are working in a program, but we're doing all that we can. But we're just a group of about, eight people that are doing, that are located there, and we're having to oversee these programs completely and the grants for those programs. But we do encourage our programs in their area, if there's a transition fair or an event that's taking place, to be there, to be able to share with families in that area. But we are aware that not everyone is aware of this.
And your private school might work with the school choice office in your school district and just make sure that they're communicating, and so you guys are aware of the different transition events that are going on in the school district. So that's something.
Yes.
That's the slide you had about the grants, but I don't know if you went into that. What is it, 500,000 grants? What was that for? Is that?
Well, we are,
Here you go.
can talk. Okay, so
Well, for the grants are for institutions of higher education that have an approved program. So the first step is for them to have an application, which has to be approved by their board of trustees and their president or the superintendent of schools. And they send notification, and it's approved by us and then by the Department of Education, the appropriate chancellor, either for Florida State Colleges, the Board of Governors, or the chancellor for career, technical, and adult education at DOE. And then they're an approved program. At the same time, they can be working on writing a grant. Those are the dollars that they need to be able to implement that program. And they can be awarded a grant, and so that grant is for 3 years, and then another grant is awarded. And in the legislation, it clearly states that these grants are for public universities or private not-for-profit colleges or universities that are chartered in the state and not-for-profit, and then also all of Florida State colleges and all of the technical colleges in Florida. All total, there's about 120 eligible institutions in the state that could develop a program, and right now we're at about 40. So we continue to share this information with folks around the state so that they are aware of this. And for instance, there are some areas where there are several, like in Pinellas County and Polk County. They have one at a University, a state college, and a technical college. Same thing in Miami and some of the other more populated
we're
areas.
after our time
Oh,
now, and
yeah.
I know you had your hand raised. So do you guys want to come up and
Yeah. Thank you all.